Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today I have something very special for you. We're going to be looking at an early alpha version of a game called Nowhere, and it is a very difficult one to encapsulate exactly what this one's all about. This is by a developer known as Duangle. They're a German developer, and they have some really interesting ideas as far as like the vision of what exactly this is going to be. First thing I want to say before we even get started, pause the video, go to duangle.com/nowhere, and look at the art for this game, and you will understand why I'm so excited about this right off the bat. Number two, what is this about? Well, as far as I can tell, this version that we're going to be looking at is a very tiny version of what is going to eventually blow up in scope to sort of like an entire universe simulation, including like macro and micro matter and procedural sound design, like really exciting stuff, coupled with all kinds of beautiful graphical effects and some sculptural things that can go on. It's really hard to describe. I'm just going to read a little bit from the README before we actually get into it. First of all, you should be aware there is no win state to this. There's no goal either. We're just going to be wandering around in the little bit of a preview that we have. And I'm sorry we're going to be on the menu for a moment, but I do have to go over some of this stuff because it is worth talking about. Actually, you know what? I can just jump into the game and then we can talk about it so you got something to look at in the background. I think that's probably the better way to go. So let me start this up and I will catch you in a second. Alright, so here we are. We are in the actual game. What exactly are we looking at? So this is a giant ball of alien biomass is what it says in the README, and all we can really do right now in this version of the game is we can manipulate the biomass, and there are also some protrusions coming from the walls of the sort of universe, I guess we'll call it, and there are a few of these, and now as we start to move around, you'll notice the sound will begin to kick in, and it is actually going to be procedurally generated based on the amount of activity that we display and what exactly we do at any given moment. So I'll just sort of let these things creep in for a second while I describe some of the other stuff that we're going to see from the README here. So the movement physics work akin to how actual space works. As energy is conserved, any impulse towards a particular direction is conserved. The force of your motor is capped for your convenience, but using the boost you can override this limit and move a little faster. Brakes generate an imposing force that brings you to a near standstill, but as you know, standing perfectly still in space is impossible. So what this is a sort of a pocket universe, I believe is what they're describing this as. We're scaling up the world as performance and technology improves. And we get three tools right now, two different forms of an energy splitter or splatterer, and then a big matter converter inflates the surface you're looking at it. Alternatively, we can deflate it, create new mass, tear holes in existing blobs. Small matter converter works exactly the same, but operates in a smaller radius, and the energy splatter illuminates the surface with glowing, branching patterns. So it's sort of like an alien cosmic rave party right now at times, anyway. So the good stuff here. What exactly are we looking forward to happening with this later on in its existence? Well, this is the part that gets me really worked up. So right now, these things are missing from the build. They're about to be added at a later point. Other floating sentience, survival, AI communication interface, gardening, trading, romance, having children, growing up, growing old, turning into a house for others, turning into a city, reincarnating as someone else, and all those features are going to be added within the next 2 years of this game's existence. So I guess I should probably get into some carving out of things and see what the soundtrack does to evolve. Alright, so we see as we get closer to this, and it reminds me a lot of that little utility that I've used on a couple of occasions. I've streamed it, I've actually made a video of it called Sculptress, where we can actually form and bend matter using this tool, and right now we can make these sort of bulbous, you know, whatever you want to call these masses on top of this alien form, and we can also cut into things by using the right click, and we can actually just, I believe we can cut right into the surface as far as we want, and eventually the shapes start to morph and change. But then we can also change our tool, and now we've got the smaller version of that, so we can carve into this and make some kind of a shape. We can make a face, we can make whatever we want out of it. And probably at the end of the video, I'll try and break the engine as well as I can. And then we've got this thing, which is going to put all kinds of crazy, colorful lines, which it really starts to look quite pretty. The color effects at times, though, they remind me a little bit of like the paintball mode from GoldenEye 007, the way they're sort of half illuminated. But they're also just very interesting to look at, and I'd love to like be able to paint something other than this ball, but it looks like I can only do that for the moment. Like I think you can mess with this a little bit, like you can kind of carve into it, but it doesn't seem to hold any form. And look at how like the radius of that beautiful glow around the edges, it's so like illuminated. and then the sounds that are being added to the soundtrack based on me actually messing around with these shapes. I find that really interesting as well. Just the concept of procedural sound generation and creating a soundtrack out of the actions you make, that by itself is really cool. And it helps the fact that the sounds that actually are in this and being procedurally generated are really cool on top of it. Like, it's not just sort of taking this haphazard, like, maybe we'll make a rhythm that sounds neat based on some clicking that happens. No, it's actually like a real soundtrack, and it sounds really good. So, you know, it sets the tone. It's mysterious, it's ethereal, it's atmospheric, and on top of the fact that, like, the visuals of this at any given moment are just really pretty to me. I am so excited to see where this goes. I mean, I can't really seem to express that enough, apparently. But I hope you guys are just as hyped as I am. And if you go to the website, you'll see what I'm saying. Like, if we can get some of that art into the game, I'm pretty sure that we can do just about no wrong here. So I'm really happy to be able to actually find something this unique and niche that seems like it hasn't really been noticed yet by the majority of people. And I'd love to get that happening if possible. If you guys can help with that as well, you know, tell a friend if this kind of thing looks interesting to you. I'd love to see where this goes. I mean, I just did a video pretty recently on Mirror Moon EP, and I felt like that's kind of, this is sort of what I expected that to be like, only it turned out to be more of like a puzzle exploration game. This is a little bit more freeform and a little bit more creative, although I'm not sure exactly what form it's going to take as we move into like the beta and final forms of it. Regardless, though, I'm very excited to see. So we've carved out some caverns here in this shape. It would be kind of neat if you could build this into like your living space. You know, turn this into a planet and then carve out some shapes onto it and then add some liquid or something, and then all of a sudden you've got, you know, the form that if you were to turn into sort of like a micro-level organism, you could propagate onto this planet and create some sort of a civilization around it. Everything's so, like, bioluminescent. It feels like we're in, like, a blacklight reactive, like, club, and everybody's got that paint on them. It's just a really cool feeling. There's not a whole lot of games that can evoke something that specific and get away with it and actually have it make sense. Also, I love that effect. When you bump into this thing, watch what happens. Everything kind of wigs out, and it messes with the soundtrack as well. And it actually causes it to skip a little bit, and that happens with whatever you bounce into. It's not just that. I think also the harder you bounce into things, maybe the more it makes it skip. Not 100% on that. Let's keep painting this sucker up, because I'm just really enjoying looking at this more than anything. I mean, right now there's not a ton to do, and I'm pretty sure that's not a controversial thing to say. I mean, just looking at it, though, I think that covers all bases for me. I mean, if you saw a still of this, like, I'd be impressed. Maybe not everybody would be, but I am personally. As you probably know, I have a bit of a penchant for looking for bizarre art, and I think this definitely falls into, at least at this moment, it's definitely more of an art experience than a game experience, but I'd really like to see how that transition happens. So, there are crowdfunding options and such, so if you want to get involved, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, go to the website, get all the details there, because I don't have all of them in my head at the moment. I do these episodes pretty much freeform, and although I like to keep some little bits of information with me, I try not to get too involved in just doing a straight pitch for the game the whole time. It's really more about just looking at things and enjoying them and running through them, you know, making first-hand impressions and all of that. And I did only spend about 2 minutes with this before we started up, just so you know, it is still pretty much fresh to me. I'd love to see what happens, too, if you could, like, go to the borders of the universe and start to go into a new zone. Maybe you could run into other universe or, like, different landscapes that maybe you could exist upon. Now, are these paint streaks disappearing over time? It seems like maybe some of these surfaces aren't quite as painted up as they were a moment ago, but maybe it's just because I haven't covered everything completely yet. I'm so into the soundtrack, too. Like, I want to listen to this just all the time anyway. It's got such a cool, like, vibration element to it. It's like this... There's a grungy, techno-y sound to it, and then there's also this mysterious, ethereal sound going on top of it with the synth. And it's like, it's appealing to the art and the music aficionado in me, so it's like, it's a rare combination where I can be totally just interested and stimulated by every element of what's going on here, even if the gameplay isn't quite 100% just yet. So I guess I'll wander out to the borderlines of maybe what the universe is doing. Are these still growing and expanding? I think they might be. It's a crazy looking thing that's gone on here. See if we can get to where some of these wormholes started and see if there's anything else out on the borderlines of, our galaxy, or whatever we're going to call this. Also, did you notice these little stars are actually little wireframe cubes? I don't know if I mentioned that already, but I think that's a really cool touch. Okay, no, this is sort of like we're blocked in, and we can't, like, paint the walls as far as I can tell, right? Can we expand, or... Nope, can't do anything. And actually, what's here is actually quite polished for an alpha version. I mean, I haven't had any problems with, really frame rate issues, or anything's crashed. Like, so far, it's been pretty solid, so... I'm very, very curious to know how they're going to develop this further. I know I've said this like 100 times already, but it is the prevailing theme, and hopefully I've caught your guys' interest as well. So, Nowhere, that's where we're at, and I'm excited by it. So with that, I guess we'll wrap up the episode. Links and details are all going to be in the description, as always. Feel free to go check through those. I'd love to hear what your opinions are on something like this. Please do let me know in the comments. What are you excited about coming out of this in the future? By the way, I'm using my boost right now, so that's why the music is picked up a little bit. We'll do a quick sweep around the whole structure that I've blended around. I haven't really made anything particularly creative out of this, just sort of messed with it a bit. But you guys, if you get a copy, feel free to go and make something really cool. And maybe, send me some pictures on Twitter. I'd love to see what you could make out of this. So with that, we will be off. Do check out the links. We've got, aside from the links for this game itself, we've also got my social media links in there, like my Facebook, my Twitch, my Twitter. So feel free to interact with me anytime you'd like. I'm always happy to hear from you. Feel free to mention again in the comments what you think about things. And check out indie-impressions.com for more in the series. We've got over 500 episodes and counting by the day. New videos coming from this channel, and all different kinds of introspective, hopefully fairly analytical commentaries on all the different indie games I've covered, and you can sort all the games over there on the website if you want to check out for more. Pretty much any style of game that you could want is probably over there. I mean, I don't do a ton of strategy games, I don't really do too many point-and-click games, but other than that, if you're looking for weird, if you're looking for surreal, there's got to be something over there for you, and I'm happy to induct Nowhere into the collection. So hopefully you'll come back again tomorrow. New episodes are every single day without fail. I will catch you pretty much same time, definitely same place, and I hope you have a lovely evening. I'll talk to you later.